Okay, YouTubers telling me that I am live. Welcome aboard the Friday Night Express. I'm here in Studio B, getting ready for my Arcane Con adventure tomorrow. This will be the second, it's the second Arcane Con, the second time I'm running a game at Arcane Con. I didn't end up going today. I was on the Behind the Screens channel earlier, and I was working on this, which is my, or I should put it like this, which is kind of a little prologue. I just wanted to add a little bit. I mentioned on a short earlier in the week I wanted to add. I feel like I wanted to add a little something to my adventure, so I worked on that earlier. And when I was over there, I mentioned I might go in the afternoon, depending. I wasn't feeling up to it. Sometimes I do feel like I get up here and I get a little lethargic, a little sleepy. So I ate some ramen and took a nap and kind of got back going, and here we are. So at least I should be fresh for tomorrow because I have a 9 a.m. slot, which means I got to leave here. Probably around 7. Takes about an hour to get over there. So then I get there at 8, which just gives me enough time to muck around. Last year, there was a kind of a little cool coffee shop nearby. I can go get a coffee, kind of see what's going on, get parking, all that stuff. You get there, it takes an hour to get there, but you got to park, and parking's not difficult. I don't know if it's a different situation than last year, but you got to muck around with that and then get set up. Just makes it be relaxed. I'd hate to get there, 5 minutes before I'm going to be running the game and kind of get all out of whack. So, but I'll be good. And then I'll be there pretty much all day. Who knows what time I'll get back tomorrow in the evening. A little while ago, maybe a month or so ago, I don't know, time is a flat circle, Amanda P sent me a new thing that she has made. So I thought we could read it, and then we'll see. But first, yes. Let me not get ahead of myself. Let's just start with this, which is Orestruck from Amanda P. It is up on itch, and I failed to get the link beforehand. I will add the link at some stage after the fact. Well, let me see. Actually, can I get it right now? Hold on a minute. Let's see. Yes. Here it is. All right, I'll post this in the chat, and I will add this to the show notes when I can. Orestruck by Amanda P. There it is on itch. I shall pin this for right now. Okay. As usual, just to reset things, as usual, I don't read this in advance. Nothing was promised. No deals were struck. No handshake deals were made, either digitally or physically. I've got some Polar Cranberry Lime Express, which would not for the working man, but it wouldn't be my choice, but it's what I got. One of those things where you get a Costco and then you get the big deals, but they're all mixed flavors, and I'm on to the flavors I like less. But it is what it is. In fact, I'm pretty sure I didn't even tell her I was doing this tonight because that's how I roll. And we're just gonna see what's what. Let me see if I change this to book view. Or at least kind of fill it up. Hopefully it'll look okay. I know that on screen, not that it matters too much, but I know things get cropped a little bit, but I think it'll be okay. Packed and surrounding environs. You know what? Does hold on a minute. Let me see. Is there an end? Let's see if we can get to the end book. Excuse me. So in terms of what we're looking at here, an ossified horror Murders and rends, terrorizing miners in an ancient cavern. A warrior and his vicious gang hunt a privateer rumored to have returned home. The dreamers hunger for a bloody return to forgotten rituals. So there's what we're dealing with. Now we're back to front. We get a map of, I guess, the village of Pact and the surrounding environs. So we have, let's see, we got the village of Pact, which is marked with a asterisk. Okay. So starting there, we've got the broken bridge, which is there. We've got the Naiad's Pond, the Hungry Fisher, Flint's Camp, the Cranberry Bog, Grazing Meadow, Traveler's Encampment, Daniel the Duelist's Ford, Thicket Glade, Incomplete Rock Carving of Idonia, Capellia Cavern. And then a note that road travel between locations takes half a watch, which is 4 hours. Trail travel between locations takes a full watch. So I'm guessing a watch is, this is written for Cairn, I believe. I'm not super, I just don't have internalized. I've read Cairn, I enjoy Cairn, but I don't have the rules internalized. So I guess a watch is 8 hours, half a watch would be 4 hours. So basically, road travel, half a watch, trail travel, a full watch. No notes are given for the wilderness, but I'm guessing this seems to be set up as a point crawl. I'm guessing so. Presumably, we're not really concerned with the stuff that's off trail or road. And obviously, if we read something to the contrary, then we can act upon that. Written by Amanda P., cover by Roque, I'm not sure, Romero, cartography by Amanda P., editing by Sal Tamarkin. There we go. All right. Let's move along. Hey, my ear trumpet, thanks so much. I was wondering if you were going to join. I don't know what you're. I always wonder with the time differences. It's hard for me to say, but appreciate it. Hey, Croco. Okay, we got the setup. So as is usual, I'm not going to read every single thing, so I might miss something. If I do, apologies in advance. I try to read the important stuff and then go from there. I used to read everything. It just took too long, and I don't think it was fruitful for anybody involved. So I stopped. Every once in a while, I'll hit an exception that I feel like I need to really do a close line-by-line reading, but for the most part, this has worked pretty well. But I will read the setup because I think it's pretty important. Orestruck and his adventure module. Orestruck is an adventure module for Cairn and other adventure role-playing games. Adventurers arrive in Pact, a village in the Tannic Forest, and discover multiple problems. A corpse thief, a cruel gang leader hunting a privateer and her crew, and a minor rescue mission into the nearby Capellia Cavern, where a monstrosity gnashes victims with pincers made of stone and bone. That's cool. Within the forest lurk two minor gods, the Dreamers, who seek mortal servants to enact their bloody wills. All right, so we got a lot of stuff going on there. Oh, ear trumpets is 10 a.m. Saturday morning. Well, hello again to the future. Yeah, by 10 a.m. tomorrow, I will be running my game at ArcaneCon. So, in fact, I'll be an hour in. All right, so that's the setup. We've got a few things going on here. There's a corpse thief, a cruel gang hunting a privateer and her crew on the run, and a minor M-I-N-E-R, not M-I-N-O-R, a rescue mission to rescue some miners from a cavern where there's something nasty, and then there are two minor gods. So there's a lot going on here. So we have a timeline. I'll probably just read the first bits of each timeline. So 7 generations ago, warring clansmen co-founded the village of Pact. They raised their shared past and doused the smoldering embers, building a new community by the riverside. Okay, so they started anew, and she says it in a much more poetic language. 20 years ago, Cecilia and Enid loved and lost one another, parted abruptly by a class and circumstance. They both left Pact, and I guess one of them went and married, advantageously, sort of fulfilling her familial duty. And the other went to seek her fortune at sea. I'm guessing Enid, the one who went to sea, is the privateer. 3 months ago, Captain Enid raided a smuggler's ship and stole something precious from the city lord Melchior. Melchior rallied the Admiralty to revoke Enid's letter of marque and reprisal, making any further privateer activity illegal. and invalidated her past prizes from raids. The city's leadership issued a writ proclaiming Captain Enid an enemy to all whose capture would fetch a bounty of 1,500 gold pieces, along with anything found in her possession. This became known as the Fall of Enid. Okay, so that's 3 months ago. The city lord. Which city is that? Is that I guess it's one of those things. I'm going to presume here, because Pact, I think they said Pact is a village. So I'm going to guess, right? Let me go back here. Yeah, village. So I'm going to guess that the city is outside the bounds of this micro setting. So, whatever city, right? There's just a little bit of, say, implied world building here. There is a city who has a city lord and all this stuff. Okay. But we're not really concerned about whatever city it is. But the fact is that now Enid is wanted. Is the big deal. A month ago, Count Cecilia hired villagers from Pact and elsewhere to mine iron in Capellia Cavern. She brought along a geomancer, Irmgard, to assist the mining process. So we had these two lovers, Enid and Cecilia. Cecilia has now a count, and she is starting the mine, and Enid is on the run. And that was a month ago. So then 2 weeks ago, Irmgard caused an accident, which resulted in the death of a couple of miners whose blood woke the Dreamers. Fueled by the violence and disaster, the Dreamers manifested a rock and bone monstrosity. The ore struck. The surviving miners fled. Irmgard was lost in the chaos. So you have this nice kind of web of stuff happening. Krakos is city A. Yeah, a city. Any city you'd like. So we got this kind of web of things going on that started, interestingly enough, the one 7 generations ago, maybe it'll amount to something, but it's just like, okay, Pact was founded 7 generations ago, but really much more recent. We have this kind of saga of Cecilia and Enid, and they were parted, went in other directions, and now those directions are their paths, their fates are reconverging with these events. So obviously, from we know from the setup, somewhere around here, Enid is running around. Maybe she's trying to make contact again with Cecilia. We don't know yet, right? And Cecilia started the mining, which then awoke the two, what do they call them? The two minor gods, the Dreamers, and then the thing in there with the miners. Okay. Oh, and then we have one more. Actually, we got another event here. Oh, actually, I have 2 more things. So, okay. So 2 weeks ago, this is when the monstrosities woken up and the Dreamers got loose and all that. All right. So now, unaware of the mining disaster, Captain Enid returned to Pact and anchored her ship Sealy in a subterranean lake of the Capellia Cavern known only to smugglers and pirates. After hiding the ship, the captain and her crew disembarked to explore the cave before traveling to Pact. They quickly encountered the cavern's dangers and became separated. Okay, so even more connective tissue, as Enid went one-eyed Willie and put her ship in a underground lake, but is also sort of trapped or somewhere inside the caverns. And then, so that was still 2 weeks ago. Then a week ago, Flint. Do we know who Flint is? Yet? I don't think so. So Flint arrived in Pact. Okay, so Flint arrived to arrest Enid, and then we know that Melchior has placed a bounty on Enid's head, and Flint wants to collect it. He's got a gang, Flint's Will, and they're across the region hunting for the captain and her crew. Count Cecilia's men monitor Flint's movements, but can do little to interfere with his bounty hunting until he steps out of line. So basically, Krakos is Flint Stone? Not quite. So Flint has come. Yeah, he's a mercenary. Yeah, he's mercenary. But he's got a bunch of dudes, and they're going to be running around trying to find Captain Enid. And, of course, Cecilia knows what's up to some degree, but can't really stop. Presumably, City Lord Melchior, I guess, has higher ranking than a count. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I would get, it would seem like it. So, politically, she can't just call them off. But maybe she's hoping that they're going to do something bad, in which case she can strike against them and save her old love for love. And finally, now the escaped miners fill the boarding house in town, nursing wounds. Okay, Count Cecilia remains in the village, trying to get assistance. Captain Enid's sister Ada, who owns Ada's Goods, the general store, is afraid for Enid. As false word spreads throughout Pact of Enid's cruel deeds, Flint prepares to kidnap Ada with his gang. Meanwhile, visitors to Pact complain of experiencing violent dreams while sleeping in the forest. Excuse me. Well, goodness, why would you be sleeping in the... Don't sleep in the forest. I mean, even in our day and time, I don't think many people outside of hardened hardened, I don't know, experienced campers just gonna go sleeping in any, and even when we sleep in forests here, we tend to do it in organized spots. The heck are you doing sleeping in the forest? Get out of there. Get out. Get to the pact. Yeah, I don't know. That's funny. Okay. So even more stuff going on. So Ada, Enid's sister, is in play. Seems like she'd be pretty easy to kidnap, except for this. Well, she's in the middle of town, so that has its own challenges. And I'm guessing they want to try to kidnap Ada to lure Enid out. I suppose the problem with that plan would be, though maybe they don't know it, is how do you get word to Enid that they have their sister, that her sister's been taken? But I'm guessing they're not aware that she's trapped in the caverns also. Okay, so now we have some notes on the Dreamers. And apparently what's known about the Dreamers is only known to a couple people, Salamea and Idonia. Mayor Truman says forests are dangerous and sinister places in medieval times. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I wouldn't, like, adventuring parties, put campfires and have watches for a reason. But maybe, prior to this, I don't remember, because Tannic is the same forest from her other adventure, which also I think was a hex crawl Tannic. Maybe it's fairly calm in the forest these days. It's interesting that I guess it's just the forest and not the town. But I'm sure we'll learn more about that. But here we go. Well, I guess we might be on that page right now. So about the Dreamers. On cold winter nights, grandmothers whisper that when their great-great-grandmothers were mere babes, true dreamers were shocked from sleep by a murder in Capellia Cavern. The killing split the local community, and two clans formed, each moving deeper into the forest and feuding from their respective fortified sacred groves. Okay, I believe this, not to step on things, is referring back to that 7 generations ago, the warring clansmen. So prior to that, this seems like this is what happened. The Dreamers became enraptured by the mortals' violence, and energized by the blood spilt under the conifer bows. But the clans soon became weary of the conflict, and the fighting began to taper off. This weakened the Dreamers' powers. Each withheld their blessings for hearth, health, and home, and haunted the dreams of the villagers, naming a champion whose dreams they filled with violence. The Dreamers' powers compelled each champion to travel to the sacred grotto in Capellia Cavern where the feuding began. Meeting and filled with dreams of rage, these champions fought, and their deaths strengthened the Dreamers anew. Year after year, nightmares called each clan's bravest or most rebellious to the cavern, until one autumn when a pair of champions found themselves trapped together in a snowstorm as they traveled to the cavern. Bonded by survival, we're getting a real enemy mine moment here. Bounded by survival, the champions resisted the bloody dreams. When they returned home, they freed their people from the weakened Dreamers, together raising their fortified settlements and leaving them behind. The communities came together in peace, founded the village of Pact, and the champions married. Time passed. So hence, Pact, the name, right, has this kind of meaning, right? Because they made a pact. Descendants preserved the original villagers' remains as relics passed down with care, kept under hearthstones as wards to prevent the Dreamers' magical compulsion. None recall the Dreamers' names, ritually burnt and erased from their history. So this makes sense as to now we know why the people in the village aren't getting the bad dreams. Is because their homes are in a sense consecrated against Dreamers, which is very cool. But of course, if you're just sleeping out in the woods, no such protection. And it's interesting too, because purposefully or not, by forgetting the origins, now they're not in a position to prevent the Dreamers, or at least only a few of them are. That is to say, Salamea and Idonia. But that's a cool backdrop. I like that. All right, so we have some factions now. We have the village. Their drive is to live and let live. What are they really doing? They're worrying that the forest has become dangerous. How can adventurers get involved? They can rescue miners, help Simon stop the thief who pilfered his father's remains, rescue Ada from kidnapping, clear the mine. Okay, this is cool. Krago says, sometimes you got to dream. Yeah, you do. So here we have the factions. So I kind of like the setup. I don't know if this is from Karen or this is Amanda P's own invention. But each one of these is going to have an appearance, a drive, kind of what are they up to, and how adventurers can get involved, which is just, I'm not sure. I'm sure you could come up with other versions of those titles, maybe come up with some alternate stuff, but it's good. I think you don't really need too much more than that. So the next faction we have is Cal Cecilia and her company. I'm going to skip the appearance because I don't think it's that important for us. Obviously, if you're playing, you might want to have those notes so that when you meet them, you can mention it. But for us, it's not that big of a deal. Their drive is to rescue the missing, remove the monstrosity so that work can resume, and reunite with Captain Enid. What are they really doing? They're attempting to delay Flint and his gang from hunting down Captain Enid and her crew. And then how can adventurers get involved? It seems like how they can get involved is really how can they help them. Maybe they'll be one of them when we get to some of the, I guess, the evil side, if there's something that they can do that's preventative. But how they can get involved, seem all things they can do to help the faction. For this, it's clear the mine of the monstrosity, rescue the miners, uncover the secret job of rescuing Enid and her crew. I'm not sure how so maybe that's, I don't know, that one's I guess that's the one that I wonder maybe is a negative, a way you could negatively affect the faction, because I presume Count Cecilia does not want it known that they're trying to rescue Enid, because at least until truth gets sorted from fiction and that gets all out, then that's going to not be good for them. So the miners, they want to make money. What are they doing? They're lost in the mine or huddled in town. How the adventurers get involved, restore the mine to functionality, right? And then, this is kind of nice. She has a list of the missing miners and kind of what pages they're on. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 miners. Mr. Rourke says fast factions acting fast. Flint's will, that's the gang. Their drive is profit. What are they really doing? They're trying to capture Captain Enid. How adventurers get involved. See, this is definitely kind of an anti-faction. I almost think it would be nice as a note. You probably don't need it because you're kind of into it. What's what, except for maybe this one with Count Cecilia. I would just, for myself, I think I would maybe use something to say, like, how can they help? How can they harm? Right. And capturing Captain Enid obviously is something that would help Flint. Well, maybe. See, it's dicey too, because if the party captures Captain Enid, are they going to hand her over to Flint? I mean, if you're looking with a mercenary, if really your party's just like in it for the money, then why would they hand Enid over to Flint when they could take Enid back and get the full reward for Flint themselves? Doesn't make sense unless Flint has enough people that they can really threaten the party and say hand her over or else. Obviously, opposing Flint is going to be negative. And then we got some locations. It seems like there's only Flint, Grita, Gerka, and Else. So that would be 1, 2. There's only 4 of them. Right, so that's not that big deal. And then we have Captain Enid. What are they doing? They're trying to figure their way out of they're stuck in those caverns. How the adventure's going to evolve. They can get rid of Flint, and they can pass messages between Cecilia and Enid, and they can rescue the crew. And then they have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 5 crew members total. Which actually that does not include Enid herself. She's not listed in there. So maybe, I don't know if it's a secret or where she is, but Inga, Locke, Korban, Hild, and Goron. And then we have the Stonebound, which we don't know who they are yet, but they're a faction. So their appearance, just so we understand what they are, is they're skeletons bound inside translucent blue stone, which is very cool. They want to keep humans out of the cavern. And what are they doing? They woke up due to the mining accident. They subdue and remove humans from Capelia Cavern. That's cool. They were, let's see. So there's a room, I guess, where they become cursed to become stonebound. They seek to prevent others from experiencing their fate. Oh, so they're kind of good guys. No Mr. Silver, as far as I know. That's kind of neat. So they're really trying to stop people from becoming stonebound, which is kind of neat. So they're going to act antagonistically, but they're not really antagonists. And then how adventurers can basically interact is they can destroy the statues in the grotto and end the curse. And they can also assist those turning into stonebound. All right. Are there any other factions? All right. So that's a lot. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factions here. Now you get a page on problems and rewards. Armed adventurers looking for work will hear the following opportunities by visiting the boarding house or asking around. So here's the old adventure hooks or rumors, whatever you'd like to call it. So a grave robber desecrated the remains of Simon's father. Simon is offering an old family heirloom to bring the thief back to justice. So Oswart the Grifter, that's a great name, removed the finger bones. He used the bones to make and sell fake protective relics to the miners and other travelers to the forest. His fake relics are powerless He is at the traveler's encampment. Okay, so reward: Simon is a boatman, but his father was a musician who left him debts and a tuning fork. What's the reward? Reward: Simon is a boatman, but his father was a musician who left him debts and a tuning fork. So does that mean he'll give the tuning fork? I guess that must be it, because we have an entry right underneath that says Harmony's fork grants a chance at peace between opposed parties. Reroll reaction, even if creatures are already hostile, recharged by tuning the instrument of a skilled musician with the fork. That's cool. That's really nice, actually. So that is the reward. All right, so he can give you the... I could probably make it a little bit more clear. Just say he'll offer his father's heirloom, which is Harmony's fork. Just, I mean, not that it's not super unclear, but the phrasing is a little bit off to me. Not off, it just doesn't quite mean what it says what it means. All right, also Count Cecilia is offering 500 gold pieces per party member to rescue or recover Ermgard and any surviving miners from the incident of a couple of weeks ago. She'll pay a bonus of 1,000 gold pieces for the party and a writ of recommendation to use with any local official if they bring proof they have destroyed the monstrosity. All right, so that's a lot. So 500 GP per party member if they can get Ermgard and any miners out. And then an additional 1,000, but that 1,000 is split. So if you have a party of 4, you get 2,000 gold for rescuing and recovering bodies, and then another 1,000 on top of that for destroying, for proof that you destroyed the nastiness that's down there. And then Flint offers 1,500 gold and the ship Sealy, along with its contents, to capture Captain Enid. That seems off, only because I think we saw the reward. What is the reward? I thought the reward is only 1,500. I kind of think it should be less, only because it just doesn't make sense to me that he would give up the entire reward. I guess I'm wondering, is there something else in play for Flint? Because the reward from the city lord is 1,500 gold and presumably the ship and whatever you get to capture Captain Enid. Then he's saying he will give the party or whomever 1,500 gold and the ship and whatever to capture Captain Enid, which means that if the party were to sign on with him and do the job, he would be netting nothing. Doesn't make sense unless he's going to either double cross the party or there's something else going on. So maybe there'll be something else going on. Maybe he's going to double cross the party, but otherwise I would lower that. I mean, that's not even, he can't even pay for his time. He's got a gang underneath him that I'm sure want to get paid. I don't know if that's just a little bit of a goof that you need to fix, or what. Crocker wants to know, what if they put miners in? I don't think the party will get anything if they start taking the miners from the village and stuffing them down into the mine. Probably would be a negative reward, I would guess. Okay, now we have some jobs that you can be discovered. So Cecilia is looking out, trying to figure out what happened to Captain Enid, but she can't reveal it to Flint, obviously. She will offer some, let's say, 100 gold pieces per party member for information on Enid and discretion. I don't know how. I'm curious. I guess we'll see if there's how you, because they're not saying here how you would discover this particular job. Because it doesn't say in the setup who knows what. See, I like here that it says who knows about the Dreamer's secret, but it doesn't say who knows about Cecilia and Enid. Though, yeah, I don't know. They lived in Pact, so maybe it definitely could come out. I think it's more. I guess you just have to look for opportunities to slip that information about Enid and Count Cecilia in there. It probably, at least the way I would want to play it, is in town. I imagine it would seem awfully, what's the word? Coincidental that both Cecilia and Enid happen to come back at about the same time, just because, like, why? Though clearly it seems the way the adventure's set up, they weren't coming back to reunite. They just happened to be in the same place at the same time. Again, unless there's something we haven't seen yet. Captain Enid offers the sea giant's skull as payment to rescue her crew and remove Flint. Okay, we don't know what that is yet. Oh, I guess we're going to find out right here. The sea giant's skull, if you whisper a treasured memory Whisper a treasured memory to learn the location and the skull are lost to time. Okay, I don't know what a Magi's atelier is, but I guess that's like atelier, I think it was kind of a workshop sort of thing. So, like, is this a magic shop? A kind of a magic shop? I don't know if that's a thing in the Tannic universe or if that's a thing in Cairn. Don't know, but I presume it's a good thing. If you don't have one or you don't know what it is, insert some other location that is good. And then the dreamers will grant a boon for successfully completing an act of perilous service. They tempt the unwary in dreams. Right. We saw that already, and I guess there's more about that. I wonder what the boon is. Now we have some rumors. I think we've read enough about this, so I'll just read. Say, let me roll. I'm gonna roll a d10 to read a rumor. What do we got here? I got a d10 right here. Number 5, father's skull and mother's bone are best kept under hearthstone. Oh, I like that. You got a little rhyme. And then we have a note for wardens, aka the GM, referee. Old bywords half remembered and uttered by elders and crones. The purpose of them is lost. Interesting. I wonder why that seems to be. I'll just say that seems like a weird warden's note. I feel like the warden's note, if you read it so far, which we have, we know that this is what they're talking about is the protection granted by the bones against the dreamers. But that note, it's a cool note. Like the language is beautiful. All old bywords half remembered and uttered by elders and crones. The purpose of them is lost. But it's for the warden. This is for referee knowledge. So why not just tell us, like, yeah, this is referring to the dreamers? I mean, unless you're reading things way out of order, which can happen, right, as you're playing through, and we're reading everything in order, so we've just read the page on the dreamers, but it could happen when you're playing that you don't have that in mind. But still, I would just say this refers to the relics and the hearthstones, and as opposed to the language is very cool, but that to me is language that I would have someone say to a character, like, this stuff's half remembered and we don't know what it means anymore, but we like to say it, kind of thing. Okay, now we have some what could happen. So I guess beginning the night of day 2. So are we supposed to? What could happen starting on night 2? I don't know, but let's just read the first one. Gurke and Flint break into the general store to kidnap Ada for use as a hostage when arresting Captain Enid. They accost townsfolk, hurting Simon and fighting Count Cecilia's guards. Okay, so that could happen. But I guess I'll just read another one. Flint flees to his camp northeast of town with the hostage Ada and reunites with his gang who have taken Enid's crew members who escaped into the forest from Capellia Cavern captive. Hey, Fogan, we are going over an adventure called Ore Struck by Amanda P. Okay, so that seems like... Oh, in order. I see. So could occur in order beginning the night of day 2. All right, so then after that, Flint and the gang, plus their captives, travel to Capellia Cavern, having learned that the privateer ship is docked in the subterranean lake. On the way, they encounter a dreamer. Choose to roll, I guess, where, either the glade or the thicket, or is that the name of the dreamers, the glade, the thicket? Not sure yet. They gather any of Flint's Will's members they encounter on the way, and then finally, Flint's Will arrive at Capellia Cavern. Navigating the mine's dangers, they will attempt to find Captain Enid and use Ada as a hostage to secure their surrender. And finally, Captain Enid is captured and taken to the city along with Ada for trial and possible imprisonment or execution, or they're slain in the waterfall grotto. Well, these seem to be all things that will happen in order. I think the one thing, and I guess we'll have to see, is I would like if there was a timeline. So a couple things that say it could occur in order beginning the night of day 2. So we'll have to get to day 2 and we can see if there's some roll or how do we determine whether to start this. Because clearly it's a timer of sorts, and we'll just have to see if they time it up. But in this section, we don't get a timer. We just get this. So we don't know how long it takes. Well, I guess we do know. Presumably, it should take, I guess if it's a trail. So if we go back to the map, let's see, Flint's camp. Whoops. Let's see. So we're starting here in town. He kidnaps the town. Road, that's half a watch. Oh, that's wait, where's Flint's camp? 4. So we got half a watch here. and this is where it gets interesting a little bit. How do you judge this section? I'm going to imagine, I'm just going to call this one thing. So we're not going to try to figure out like, oh, but they're on a road until this point and then they go. So I'm just going to say, so 4 hours and another 8. So basically it takes them 12 hours. It'll take them 12 hours to get to the camp. And then it's going to take them an additional 8, 12, 16. Is that 11? No, 16. 20 hours. I don't know, but this is where I think it would be nice to have, and maybe it will be there. It'd be nice to have that. Hey, once these things start, it'll be this many watches, this many watches, this many watches, this many watches to give us an idea. But this could be information that's elsewhere, or maybe it's depending on, we're going to roll dice every day, something like that. It could be another way. We'll see how they handle it. I hope they have some kind of structure for that, just to make it easy. But you can map out the time it takes. So we had the village of Pact. Cold winds blow desiccated cedar fronds down the dirt road towards a humble village. There's a watchfire manned by Agnes or Agnese. He smokes an acorn pipe. That's a nice touch. And we have a town square with a boarding house, a general store. There's a graveyard and some pavilion tents. And then we have the boarding house. P2, is there a map? Is there another map? That's for the caverns. No, that's the caverns. It's another mine. Oh, I guess there's 2. I don't know. Where's the forest? I mean, where are these P1s, P2s? Okay, I guess it's just in there. All right. All right. I guess it's P for Pact 1. I mean, I don't really need a map, but it's just that they gave us a numbering, so I wanted to see if there was a... But, there's only a few things. There's a watchfire, a town square, a boarding house, a graveyard, and some tents, and a general store. Not really a lot that you need to... I couldn't see any reason to really map it out unless you're going to have a mad chase, but even then, I would just run it Theater of the Mind anyway, so no map required. Okay, we've got Count Cecilia's encampment. Croco says no maps makes you sad. Well, sorry, Croco. I'm not trying to make anybody feel sad. It just seems to me, I do find that settlement maps, I don't find them particularly useful for me because, I don't know, I guess your miles may vary, but I don't find myself going like, go down this thing. And then, to me, I don't run it like a dungeon. So I'm not saying to someone, okay, you go down go down Main Street, then you turn left at Acorn Avenue. Then you take a right on Pine Street. And then you take another right, and I'm not doing that. I'm just, maybe if it was a big city, you might talk about neighborhoods and maybe the types of streets. Are they narrow? Are they broad? Do they seem, rich, poor, industrial, whatever, trade, commercial? Think about the people. Are the streets different? Dirt, cobblestone, something else? But I don't know. Like, other than that, it's just, and if you have a little village where you basically everything's just around the village square, it's kind of like there's nowhere to go anyway. It's like you come in, the road goes to the middle of the village, presumably the town, and it's like, oh, there's a general store. Oh, there's the goods. There's the thing. It's like, where are you going? Croco says, just seems like there is a lot that can happen in the village, so a map might be nice. I mean, yeah, you look, it's one of those things, right? It could be a nice to have, but the actual positioning, I just think to me, it's a thing like if you're running this and you feel like it's important for you to have it, then just draw something, I guess. I mean, yeah, sure, they could use one of those things, one of those town builder apps to create a little town. But I mean, it's a village. It's not even a town. It's a village. Like actually, this would count as a town in my worlds, but for purposes here, it's a village. It's tiny. There's not a lot there. Everything's going to be in a circle. Like I said, I just envision is literally just everything in a circle. Like there's a central area and everything just kind of is not even spokes. It's just all there. And then you're going out of town again. So, what is there really to map? But yeah, I mean, just draw it out if you need it. It is a nice, if you're doing, for folks who are very cartographically talented, you can add a map in there and it's nice, but I just personally find I just don't end up using them much. Count Cecilia's encampment. And we have what's the notes about the guards? I do like these little sidebar notes. Abbott is an inexperienced young soldier. Flora, a salty old soldier, deceptively relaxed but deadly. Okay, cool. So there are 2 guards here, and we just get some notes about the guards. We have Count Cecilia's pavilion, her secret. She broke Enid's heart when they were teenagers, a source of great regret. She received a letter from Enid asking for a meeting 2 months ago. Enid is a week late for their meeting. She thinks Enid's sister Ada may know more, but fears to reach out with their history. Okay, so it wasn't just coinkydink. Enid asked her to meet. And Count Cecilia, whose nickname is Sealy, that's the name of Enid's ship, so we get a little bit more there. So there are some clues that you could try to filter in there. So if we want to try to get the party to become aware of this relationship, one of the things you can do is note about the ship. That maybe someone in the village calls Cecilia Sealy, and what isn't Enid's ship called Sealy? Like, why would they do that, right? There's history there, and of course, I feel like once you start to say, like, you make that question, like, wait a minute, is there a history there? Then someone will tell you, and then you can start putting things together. Okay, Ada's Goods General Store. We got Ada. We get Captain Enid didn't come home. Ada sent Simon to the usual secret dock, and he didn't find anything. There's a graveyard, open grave. Oh, okay. So this grave isn't actually one of the Hearthstone graves. It's just a regular grave. And it's this, okay. Now we get into the forest, the Tannic Forest. Under the interwoven canopy, humid air fills the nostrils, layered with the scents of pine sap and fermenting cranberries. Sugar sand paths creep under dangling honeysuckle vines that strangle the trees. Small but enterprising spiders weave enormous silken webs between the branches overhead. No birds sing. A creek trickles in the distance. Most mornings, fog rolls across the hills, ducking under the lowest boughs of the pitch pine trees until it is burnt off by the midday sun. The occasional afternoon rain strikes before an early autumnal dusk settles, sickly yellow stars and a harvest moon peeking through the tree canopy. Altogether, with that description, which is a beautiful description, it does not sound like the place I want to go to sleep at night. So, yet again, if you're a villager, don't sleep in the Tannic Forest. It doesn't seem like it's that nice a spot. Go back to your homes. Just don't do it. So we have some forest encounters. The Capelia Mine is about 2 days travel from Pact, and we have that map. There's a wilderness events table that they're just pulling straight out of Cairn. I don't have Cairn in front of me, but if you roll a 1 on that table, then you roll a D8 on here and you get one of these. You don't repeat encounters. If you get the same one twice, move to the next one down, and then you can roll weather per Cairn. Okay. So we have a bunch of things. One of them is a bony vine winds around an ensorcelled wolf that snarls, attempting to escape. Careful party members may spot 2 bony vines slithering across the forest floor towards them. If not stopped, each vine will attempt to grab a party member. Save to avoid being grabbed. A rescued wolf will flee to the forest. Okay, so I'm kind of curious about the ensorcelled wolf. I guess I got to wait till page 34 to see about that. And then here's another. I'll just read one more. Inga the sailor rushes towards the party as a carnivorous conifer hunts her, a boarding axe embedded in its trunk. Inga knows where Sealy is. Okay, so there you go. So if you can rescue Inga, that's something, but you might not get her. But I like the carnivorous conifer. Another reason why would you want to sleep here at night? There are ensorcelled wolves, bony vines, carnivorous conifers. More reasons to not sleep in the forest. Do not sleep in the forest. And if you do sleep in the forest, you can get one of these 6 dreams. I will just read one, and I will roll a die to see which dream I shall read. I got a 1. A thin vine springs from the earth that wraps tightly around your feet before weaving its way up your body to cocoon you completely. Only when you are trapped in the darkness do you realize you are surrounded by teeth. This calms you as you are slowly digested. Nice, but I don't know. Obviously, you're not going to be. I guess in this world, if you die in your dream, you're not dying in life, or you're going to wake up before you actually are digested. But certainly a creepy dream. All right. Now we get to some forest. These are the locations that were on the map. We have the Broken Bridge, the Naiad's Pond, I like a small tea brown pond. That's a really nice color note, tea brown. On an island in its center sits a hut with a thatched roof made of moss and cedar. During the day, a red-headed woman named Helga fishes from her faded green rowboat and communes with the carved sycamore tree, its boughs spread elegantly above the hut. Helga speaks exclusively about forest fishery when not flirting artlessly with Salomea, her longtime companion. She pelts visitors with questions about their fish purchasing habits. And Salomea is the carved sycamore tree, which is a pond spirit bound to their tree by an ancient carving and awakened again a decade ago by Helga. She can manifest in human form on the islet and in the pond, clad in a woven pitch pine and blueberry bud dress. Her warm voice creaks from inside her trunk. She is young compared to the surrounding forest. She desires local news and knows to be wary of the dreamers. All right, cool. So there's a way to get something. I'm curious. I don't know. I'm wondering what a pitch pine looks like. I'm assuming it's a real tree. Let's see. Okay. So just in case, actually, I'll just, well, that's not really what it was. I'm just going to put this here just in case you're wondering. That's a pitch pine, I think. All right. Where's Wikipedia? Pinus rigida, the pitch pine. Small to medium-sized pine, native to eastern North America, primarily from central Maine south to Georgia and as far west as Kentucky. There you go. Cool tree. So there's the pitch pine. If you were wondering, like I was, what exactly a pitch pine is, there you go. If the adventurers share local gossip or entertain Helga's questions, Salomea will direct Helga to share dried fish for their travels. Eating a fish freely given from Salomea's pond will gird the spirit, removing deprivation and fatigue. I'm guessing there's no mechanical effect, though I might give you something. I might actually say, just me, feel free to add this little hack, if you will, that if you eat the fish from there, you won't get the bad dreams if you sleep in the forest. I would do that for you. See, I'm a giving soul. I am a kind GM. That's what I would do. All right, the hungry fisher. The stench of stomach acid wafts through the air, rising from a small glade that interrupts the forest trail, or a loud gurgling and a voice yelling faintly. At the center of the glade is a grass-edged pit with a wet clay interior. The hill sleeps uneasily. It takes a great deal to awaken it when its belly is so full. The voice is Brida, a miner that's trapped in the fissure, the hill's gut, slowly dying. She will die if not rescued by day 2. She's at the bottom of a 20-foot hole, but someone will need to descend and dig the constricting clay from around her legs before she can be rescued. If saved, Brida shares that she encountered bone spiders in the mine. And a note, the hill will remain full for 7 days after Brida's death and not seek future meals. It's really cool. I do have questions. How does this, the idea of this living hill that's consuming people is really cool. I would like to know, how does it seek meals? What does it do exactly? Because, okay, so if, I don't even know if is the scope of this adventure such that you will still be playing it 7 days? I'm not sure, because let's take a couple days to get here, a day or so back. 7 days, it seems like you're probably going to be at the very end. But I guess it's a good note if you plan to make this a location you might return to. So I kind of, we're going to make this note about, hey, it's full. Well, how does it feed? Does it move? Does it sliding around the landscape? Is it there? Is it like a sarlacc? Does it cover itself up like a pit trap and then you fall in and do it? And is there a way to hurt it? Can you hurt this living carnivorous hill? Does it can you stab the ground with pointed sticks to do something? Is it magic? Could you cast magic missile, lightning bolt, fireball at it? Does that do anything? I don't know. Might be nice to know, but it's a very cool creation. We have Flint's camp with some notes about the camp. Gerke is here, a mountainous man with a hoarse voice, a maul and a chain, and wearing chain. His maul and chain. Swings his maul and chain. Is the maul on a chain, or is he wearing chain? We don't have stats here, so not sure yet. Okay, so then there's another note about day 2, because remember, a lot of things kick off on day 2. Brita, the Flint's plans kind of kick into high gear in day 2. Brita will die if she's not rescued by day 2. And then a note here at Flint's camp that on day 2, the camp is empty until late evening when Flint, Gurka, and Ada arrive. I just want to check something because it makes it seem, when is this stuff gonna kick? It doesn't. So if the night of day 2, they come to the general store, but it's 4 hours. Yeah, the timeline seems to be a little bit off. Wait, their camp is here, right? Is there 4 or 7? Yeah, their camp is up here. Timing doesn't make sense. If they start their plan on the evening of day 2, they can't get back to their camp the night of day 2 because it's 4 hours. It's 12 hours. If they go at, presuming, I don't know what you're talking about. Saying autumn. Let's just say it's essentially even day-night cycle at this point. If they were to start at sunset, they wouldn't get there until sunrise, minimum. And then they'd be going in the dark. I don't know if Karen's rules for traveling at night, but I feel like either they have to get to their camp at day 3 or they have to start their thing on the first night. I might ask her about that if I have a chance. That seems a little bit like they're moving faster. So I get that day 2, the camp is empty. Because unless they're, yeah, because it says, right, it did say that they were going to do their events starting in the evening. Right? Beginning the night of day 2. Yeah, that needs to be the morning. Then they could happen. Otherwise, the timeline's too fast for travel. Unless we're going to read that they have some items that they're able to move faster than the party could move. We have the cranberry bog. Acidic and reeking of rust, the gluey bog lacks a clear path. A trail of unstable logs propped on mush and bushes meanders through the morass. Melodious singing echoes between the hollows, volume and distance varying moment to moment. Only wild cranberry bushes and swamp azalea thrive in the acidic, cloudy water, choking the bog's shores and spots above the waterline. Wading through the bog water draws the attention of bog iron spiders. Shiny glints can be seen through the cloudy water. Oh, cool. A lot of spider stuff going on. So there's bone spiders in the mine, and there's bog iron spiders in the bog. We have a grazing meadow. And we got the traveler's encampment. That's where this guy Osworth, the guy who stole the bones from the grave. Ingolf, a supposed mystic. Bosun's mate Holda, who's like obviously one of Enid's crew. Maid of honor Erin seeks information about her sister Sigrid's wedding party, which is late returning after picking wildflowers. She last saw them traveling in the forest. If her sisters return, she will say thank you and spread word of the party's good works and pact and to other travelers. Well, that's nice. And there's an escaped miner, Fulgit, who's there, and then Elze, who is a aging laundress, who I guess is trying to get to the city, capital C city. But she's not. She's a spy working for Flint. It's all a ruse. Okay. And she's going to get Holda. Where's Holda? Oh, the bosun's mate. Okay. Dead or alive on day 3. All right. So there's another kind of ticking clock there. Daniel, the duelist's Ford. Daniel, a mischievous young adult, glares at all who approach. His weasel-like face bears a thin mustache over a smirking lip. He stands on a large log braced between slippery rocks crossing the river. The Ford appears treacherous. And, he's like, answer me these questions 3. So he wants to challenge the party to some log rolling. That's kind of fun. There's the thicket. Vultures leer from the boughs of an old willow tree, trunk split in half. Below the boughs, or is it? Yeah, it is boughs. Sits a weathered meteoric rock carved in Neolithic fashion to resemble a wolf. Burnt wooden stakes stick out of the ground surrounding the glade. The wolf speaks with a terrible gravelly voice like tectonic plates grinding. It introduces itself as Forthwith, a forest god of great power. It will grant a boon to the party if they carry a stone dagger to a waterfall grotto inside of Capellia Cavern and return it to a statue there. And there's the secret is that Forthwith lies. It wants a new champion. And then the burnt wooden stakes are the remnants of an old wooden palisade. Careful examination of the meadow reveals the burnt outline remnants of a crude settlement covered over by moss. So there you go. So this is that one of those. Crocodile says, "Damn you, Flint!" Yeah. So this is one of the gods, and then the other one, I guess, is this one, the glade. Trees surround the glade with the burnt remainder of wattle fencing. Look at that! I just discovered wattle fencing earlier today, and here I hear it. Look at that! Must have been meant to be. Interwoven between individual trunks across the glade grow pale green-white plants. At center stands a withering willow tree with a great hollow that air whistles through, carrying a voice. And then we have, so the voice is reedy and creaking. It introduces itself as erstwhile. So we have Forthwith and erstwhile. Those are great. And requests aid the request. The adventurers carry a large rhizome and grove soil to the hidden grotto. When there, bury the seed and feed what grows what it requires. When this is done, erstwhile will grant a boon. And of course, the secret is erstwhile hungers. The rhizome grows into a giant carnivorous pitcher plant that demands an immediate blood sacrifice, either alive or newly dead. Hey, Bidenus, thanks so much for the kind words. Okay, so there we go. So we have the glade and thicket, incomplete rock carving of Idonia. Idonia is an old forest spirit and will assess the adventurers. If they have been cruel in the forest, her face will glare. If she views the party favorably, she will provide orientation and guidance, speaking with grave authority, her voice little used over the centuries. She will, in brief, share the legend of the dreamers. So there's probably the main way, presumably, where you will discover the dreamers bit is from Idonia. Who was the other one? It was Salamea. All right, Salamea, we already met, but they don't mention it. She's young. She desires looking nose to be wary of the dream. Yeah, I would probably say that Salamea will also mention the dreamers. I'd add that note or write it in there that Salamea will also hip you to the dreamers. So you have a couple of ways to get that. Okay, now we're into Capellia Cavern. So that's some nice maps. I'm not going to read all the rooms. I think you're going to get the gist. You can see, maybe I'll read a room just to see the layout of it, but so the cavern itself, precious ore and faded relief carvings hint at an ancient divine purpose. The ore struct charges violently through the dark passages, eager to consume. Outside of the mine entrance are structures reduced to splinters by enormous pincers. The mine has two entrances, the main entrance, and the rail entrance. So the main entrance is passable for an average-sized person. The door was nailed shut using iron spikes and then hacked down with a bladed object from the inside. The rail entrance, the wood and iron rail tracks lead in, covered with loose stones and minecart parts. Adventurers can deduce that the entrance had been collapsed with explosives from outside, and then collapsed rocks were chewed and shoved from within, allowing passage for something very large. Seems like that's where that monstrosity would be, maybe using that one. I don't know with Karen, but I guess Karen, right? Karen does, it's not strictly medieval, right? So there are things like guns of some things. We obviously have explosives, we have rails, but I think that's all part and parcel of Karen, right? Someone can correct me if that's wrong, but I think that's right. Okay, so first impressions. Throughout is natural sandstone, smooth and sculpted by centuries of flowing water, marred by the picks and braces of industrial mining. Caverns smell of wet rock, mildew, rotting vegetation, and salt. There's a narrow stairway that descends through a natural fissure, which has been widened and braced with rough-cut logs. Along the stairway walls hang empty torch holders at regular intervals, each beneath a streak of black soot. And then we have some random encounters. I will roll 1. Let's see what I get. 6-sider gives me a 3. Mimic mischief. Illusory chamber appears along a hallway or chamber. The tells are the cavern walls are wheezing, smells like wet heat contrasted with the cool air of the cavern, and its desires to consume prey. I guess we're going to get more of that on page 35. And then we have some. This is kind of nice. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why I say it's not. It's not that it's not nice. I was going to say I like it, but at the same time, it's an adventure, so it's from the wardens, the warden being the GM's perspective anyway, but here we have some specific guidance. So I like the guidance. It's kind of funny. Warden guidance, but The wardens should be the only ones reading this, really. But still, I like specific guidance. Like, here are some things. But I'm not going to read. I'll read about the Orestruct one only because I think that's maybe the most different or unusual thing going on. The Orestruct is a local effect as much as it is a monster. The warden is advised to use the environment and sign results on the Cairn dungeon encounter roll to emphasize the Orestruct's presence, searching through the cavern looking for prey. It moves fast despite its enormous size. Yeah, I think that's good. I would say that, I don't know why I'm saying this, but you don't need to tell me the warden is advised to. Just say use it, because this is warden guidance. It's the adventure. I'm already the warden. You don't need to then say the warden is advised. Just say, hey, it's a local effect monster. Use the element, environment, and the sign results. Just, you can skip a little bit of, cut a couple of words that don't really add anything. Krako says, ore was struck in the mine, which made the ore struck. I mean, something like that. I think it's more blood was spilt in the mine, awakening the ore struck. But I think it's, it's a construct made of ore. It's a cool word. I like it. That's a creature name, just as a creature concept. And then we also have the Stonebound, which I guess I'll read the note about Stonebound. They seek to push any humans out of the cavern to safety, subduing but not slaying. Humans transforming into Stonebound are in immense pain as their flesh gradually grinds to dust over 3 days. Oh, that sounds pretty agonizing. Don't want to do that. Okay, which one of these rooms seems the most interesting? Let's see. Well, I'm going to roll a die. I'm enjoying this random rolling. So we have 18. I'll read one from level 1 and maybe one from level 2. I'm going to roll an 8-sider for the first level. If I happen to roll an 8, I will just re-roll. Just easy enough to do. All right. Cocked. I don't really have a good rolling source here. Number 1. So we shall read the first room. Let's see. Miner's Blessing Chamber. 2 small, simple stone statues stand on a makeshift stone plinth. Coin offerings and paper scraps sit at their feet. The statues, they're ancient and primal. The exaggerated human figures have chests marked with red oxide handprints. They face one another in martial stances. Newly whittled pine pickaxes are wedged in their hands. And then there are coin offerings. There are 15 gold pieces and small scraps of paper scribbled with miners' wishes that lie at the statue's feet. If you take an offering and fail the next save, take an offering and fail the next save, leave an offering and succeed. Oh, I see. So if you take something, so if you were to go, oh, look, free coins and grab one, you will automatically fail your last save, the next save you take. If you instead leave an offering, you will succeed on your next save. Actually, it's a nice thing, even though it seems like these two guys are, well, there are hints about the idea that the champions fighting, but it actually has a good effect. Okay, so that's it for level 1. And then for level 2, I will roll a d20. Again, if I roll 19 or 20, I will simply roll again. And I rolled a 4. So we'll read the 4th room. All right, that is, okay, they are let in order. So that would be, the 4th room would actually be 1, 2, 3. It'll be the connecting chamber. I might go to the 10 or 12 if it's boring. Oh no, there's a lot of stuff here. A long, narrow room with 6 barrels stacked along the west wall. Stone rubble and loose piles surrounds the east entrance. At the center of the room sits a woman shielded by floating rocks forming a protective sphere. 2 urns sit against the north wall. So inside the barrels, it's kind of dried beans, oats, and dried apples. So Irmgard is the woman. Let's see. She's holding a metal rod. She's exhausted and cautious, requiring reassurance to lower the stone barrier. Irmgard she's not going to last much longer. She's trying to project confidence. She knows, she kind of has a sense of what's going on. If you can get rid of the Orestruct, she will provide the Rod of Command Stone. Oh, that's nice. And she'll give her she'll give them her tome Stone Egg. That's also very nice. Cargo says mines are pretty tricky to map with all the different shafts going at various angles. I mean, I think, yes, a real mine. This, not so much. But that's fine. I mean, I would not want it to try to, I think a real mine, I think it would be awfully confusing for everybody. And yeah, I wouldn't try to map it. I mean, I think we'd want to make sure, if I was going to try to map as a mine, I wouldn't look at some kind of modern mine. however they do it, I'd want to look like, well, do we know what any kind of medieval mines look like? Do we have any concepts of the complexity of a medieval mine? Or was it basically kind of go straight, you're following a vein and then you maybe make some turns? It may not be that complicated. I don't know. It's going to have, I don't know if a ancient or medieval mine would have lots of vertical shafts or be mostly horizontal, presumably a little bit of both. I don't know. But I wouldn't want to try to make one because it'd just be a mess. It's one of those things that I'm happy to stick with the fantasy, much like a dungeon in an actual castle is nothing like a dungeon as we do in the games. In our case, reality of dungeons are quite simple. Some cells, maybe a couple things. It's pretty much that's it. And then, of course, in fantasy, dungeons are these crazy, sprawling, massive places. Often, not always. Quago says, looks like they mostly dug downwards. It might be. There's like a bunch of pits, basically. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm definitely fine with something that fits more or less a dungeon kind of design. Okay, cool. So that was. Oh wait, no. So that was the. So Irmgard is here. So she's not dead. So you actually can get to her, and she'll give you some stuff. Ooh, there's a bone saw. So in one of the urns, hidden in some fresh milk, is the obsidian bone saw. Taking the saw without offering 7 coins or stealing the coins will boil the milk, inflicting onto the thief some strength damage. So, ouch. Let's see. The schooner Sealy. So we got the. Is there anything interesting? So Captain Enid is on the schooner. She's injured. Freeing Captain Enid from the bone. Wait, hold on. Oh, I guess let me read this. So on the schooner Sealy. So we're on to our one-eyed Willie kind of moment as they come into the cavern. They see the ship in the underground lake. So on the forecastle, isn't that they call it? I think they don't call it a forecastle. I think it's called a forecastle. Am I misremembering that? Am I confusing with something else? Okay, so Captain Enid, her chest and arms are mobile, but her lower half is encased in a bony material that was spit on her by the bone spiders. And then she's got a leather bag next to her. Okay, so if you can chisel her out. But if you have the bone saw, it's done a lot faster. So you can either take hours to chisel her carefully, or an hour, or if you've got the bone saw, the obsidian bone saw, you can get through fast. She's going to want to know stuff. She can help stuff inside the bag. There's some old love letters between Enid and Cecilia that have been preserved. Some of the paper looks newer, i.e. they've been in contact still. And there are a couple people below decks, Gladiola and Castor. I don't know. Are they supposed to be mad? Or I guess they're just there. Because the Gladiola, the young chef, weeps and stirs a pot of thin fish soup. She is saddened by her remaining stores, reads tea leaves, and tearfully gives solemn omens. I don't know if I should read that as that's just kind of normal behavior for her, as if she's kind of gone overboard. Where is the Orestruct? Did we see where the Orestruct? I guess maybe the Orestruct could be anywhere. Where is it supposed to be? Okay, so C13, the Chamber of Transformation. That's where you can become the Stone Guard, right? Or, the nest. Orestruct rests here in its nest. 4 bone matter mounds lie on the north wall. We got some dead miners in a couple of them, but a couple of live miners in another one. Okay. So we have some relics and treasures. I'm not going to spoil those. We have the bestiary. I'm mostly interested in the Orestruct. Oh, Flint's got himself a saber of striding. Owned by a cruel general, the saber forces a contingent of the 3 individuals to march for a watch. Okay, so you can kind of force some people to march, but doesn't make them march any faster. So I still think there's a timing issue, or just you need to figure out the timing and maybe reset the clock, switch it from day 2 to day 3, something to account for the travel time for Flint and his folks. I was curious about the ensorcelled wolf, half flesh, half stone, silver wolf with stone paws and wicked claws. Oh, yeah, we got a nice rhyme going in there. Sylvan howl induces fear on a failed will save. The victim cannot take an action until they make a successful will save. That's interesting. I'm sure some people will not, enjoy that, because if you just get unlucky with your will saves, you just can't do anything. I might change that to have them have to act on their fear, like on an unsuccessful will save, they have to act according to their fear, and it doesn't really change it much, but it means that, because I don't mind if you're on if someone says, oh, your character's under a fear effect, you're afraid, like, you could just let the player determine, obviously within reason, how they do to be afraid. Like, they say, I'm so afraid of the wolf that I run up and attack it with my 2-handers. Like, no, no. But at least in terms of what they do they run away? Do they hide? Do they try to crawl into a hole? Do they climb up a tree? You can just have some fun with it, and at least they get to do something. You're just kind of stuck until you make a will save is kind of a less fun version of that. Just say no, let them. And actually, it also opens up some interesting things. I mean, some players will really just get into it and just be like, yeah, man, I run headlong into the forest. I don't care where I'm going. I'm not paying attention, which can add a complication because now somebody's lost. You got to find them. Or they could try to be more tactical and be like, well, is there something I can hide behind right here? Can I hide behind the party members? And of course, you can have a negotiation with whether that fulfills it or not. But really, the idea of it here is you're just not acting. So anything you're doing that isn't, and in this case, presumably acting, is really just, you're not attacking the wolf, right? You're not acting aggressively to the wolf. So whether you just hide behind another party member and cower, whether you climb up a tree, whether you get behind a rock, whatever you do, you're not really acting, right? So it fulfills the same idea without just having it be like you fail a save, you just sit there on your hands for a turn. Krakow says, run like the wind. It's pretty much. Oh, the carnivorous conifer is another good one. It's a false conifer tree that drags itself across the forest floor using spiny tree roots that emerge from beneath the earth. Critical damage. Victim is pulled beneath the earth by the grasping roots to be devoured. Ooh, that's nice. And then I did want to see where is the Ohrstruct? Okay, giant pieces of rock linked together by human bones in the shape of a giant centipede. Oh, okay, so that's not at all what I was thinking it would look like. I was thinking it would have, I was thinking something like a crab-like, since it mentioned pincers. Compound eyes that can only see light and movement. Movement sounds like 1,000 bones cracking simultaneously, mixed with nails on a chalkboard. That's kind of a cool idea. So it's movement, I guess. Okay. Bone spit encases creature in bone. Dex to avoid. On a failed save, the victim is fully covered in quickly hardening bony material, which sticks to the ground. The victim will suffocate if not rescued. The Ohrstruct can use his ability once per time encounter. All right, so it can only kind of bone spit one person, but obviously, Cargo says only 10 HP. Yeah, but it's got, because remember, we're talking, it's hit protection, right? So if I'm remembering my cairn, after you whittle down that hit protection, you still have to go down its strength, I guess, whatever, right? So it's really got, before death, it's really got 26, some more or less. So yeah, this is cairn rules, so it works a little bit differently. So you got to add a little bit on top. So it's hit protection. Like I said, if I'm remembering correctly, hit protection goes down first, and then you start affecting your attributes directly. So it's that 10 HP is actually a bit more than that. All right. Then we get another cavern map. I guess it's just a bigger cavern map. Is that the same as the other one? Okay. So yeah, it's just okay. So cool. We have two versions of the map: a small one and a larger one, and that's it. Quaco says, still seems a bit weak for a walking pile of rock. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a good sense of, well, let me see. Hold on. All right, Quaco. All right, Cairn has that online, right? Let's see. Here we go. The Warden's Guide to Karen. Let's see. All right. We're going to put your money where your mouth is. All right. So let's read what Karen says about creating monsters. Principles. Okay. Hit protection. A creature's ability to avoid danger, whether through toughness, speed, or skill. Give average creatures 3 hit points, give hardier ones 6, and give serious threats 10 or higher. So it's already, so per the Cairn guidelines, it's at 10. So it is a serious threat. I suppose you could say higher, but 10 or higher, so it's higher. Right? So, and it's got pretty high stats too, all things considered. Strength of 12, dex of 12. Or no, sorry, 16 strength, 12 dex, 12 will. Croco says they would have classed it as a deadly threat with like 20. Well, I mean, it's a the ability score is 14 is noteworthy, and it's got 16 for strength. I mean, you can argue, but it's, you know, I presume that it is, she statted it as a serious threat. Could she have made it more? Sure. But I think it's fine. And I'm just curious if we can compare it to some other beasts. Is there anything? Let's see what so Basilisk has 10. What else has? Bone constructs have 8. Bugbears have 8. Burrowing horrors, which are huge insectoids, only have 6. Cobblehounds. These are immobile. So are they made of? Immobile constructs typically use as guardians to create tombs or artifacts, but they have a bite. So I guess if you get too close, they can bite you, but otherwise they're not. Crypt Guardians. Yeah, so Crypt Guardians is 12, which is an animated skeleton. Ettins are 10. I don't know what an Eye of Terror is. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They're 15. Frost Elves. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely sitting in the higher echelon, but yeah, there are definitely things. Dragons are 12. Grizzly Bear is 6. Watchers of the Woods are 12. Yeah, I don't know, because it's hard to, you know, some of these, it's like, well, how do you, I mean, this is where kind of HD, well, I guess it's the same thing, right? So Hooded Men have 12. Hydras have 12. But Hydras also have that 2 armor as well. As this is, I don't know. I'm not an expert on Cairn, but it feels like it's. If I'm gonna go. I'll go with her expertise over my fumbling around. It seems fair. I guess. I don't know. What are we thinking? So I think this is really cool. I like. There's a lot going on, but it's all kind of interconnected, which I appreciate. The timeline, I think, needs to be fixed a little bit, or I just need to be explained. I would have liked, which I think I will say that. I mean, there's some little things that I think, like, okay, for myself, I would change, but I can easily, just having read it this time, go and write some notes saying something like, okay, taking basically what could happen and just lay out the timeline. And I think that's something I think I would do. If, you know, I would just say, let me lay it out. So this is happening day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. Just kind of lay that stuff out. So it's like, okay, because because in certain places there is that, like, well, after day 2, after day 3, this happens, after day 4. So you want people to keep track of the time. So I'll just have everything trigger on these different time frames, and once they start, you could say they will be here day 2. They will be here by day 3. There is a chance it's not really covered in here, but obviously this is not something that she could cover really. But you want to be aware of as a GM is where people are on these roads. So, if they kidnap Ada the evening of day 2, well, they're going to be on this trail in the night. If they would, it really makes more sense that they would actually do this in the morning. And maybe that's what I'll change is, hey, they kidnap her in the morning, maybe early morning. Everything's quiet. The fog's in the air. The dew is on the ground, and they grab her and go. And that way they can spend that day 2 there moving. And this is good to know because where's the party? If the party is also moving on the road, these roads are not big enough. There's not enough going on. If you're on the road and they're on the road and you're in that same watch area where you're passing, you're going to run into each other. That's an element that it's not covered and you can't cover it because there's too many dynamic things going on. But, as a GM, you want to know, okay, not only which places they are at certain times, but also you'll want to keep track of, well, where in these segments they are when things are happening. You got a nice little dungeon. There's some really, I think, really kind of clever and interesting creatures. No hexes. I might add some hexes on top of here because maybe the party does want to cut across, because that's a way, especially when people are on the road. For example, let's just say it's the morning. Oh my gosh, Ada's been kidnapped and they're on the road. Well, how can the party potentially catch up to them? Maybe they can run. Oh, we're going to move faster. I assume the other people will be hustling too, so it's really hard to catch up. But you could say, well, can we cut over here to the river and then ride the river down with it? It's dangerous, but maybe it's faster. Those kind of choices. You don't get those. That's one of the things I like about a hex crawl is you can kind of have those choices that you don't get in a point crawl, because unless because there's no path there. So we only know the path times. We don't know these other times. We don't have, I would want to say like, oh yeah, you can here and then, it's down and we can talk about a danger. Maybe they've made friends with the old boatman and they can get some boat and I don't know. Or they're known going to the camp. So we're going to try to cut across what dangers are there, so I might want to open it up a little bit to, of course you could probably do it with rolling dice. Oh, let's roll dice and see if you're able to catch up. Whatever. I mean, that's obviously another way to do it. That probably sticks more within the point crawl. But my inclination is like, let me add some hexes. Let me overlay some hexes on here so that I can do some of that kind of, for myself anyway, be more open and kind of off-roading stuff. Or if people like run away into the woods or other things. But yeah, I think it's really well made, well written. It's got a nice story. It's built a nice little micro setting. Good stuff. Thanks to Amanda P for sharing it. It was a fun read, and it's really well laid out. Very simple layout, but nicely done. I like the green color. Nice maps. Yeah, I don't know that I haven't really too much against it. Like I said, I will defer to her, and I think Yohai is listed as a thanks too. So presumably, yeah. So special thanks to Yohai. Reading and development. So yeah, so I'm sure she's gotten, besides her own honed sense of what's balanced, I'm sure she talked to Yohai and others who know way more about balancing stuff for Karen, or balancing or statting stuff for Karen than I do. So yeah, great stuff. So that was really awesome. Okay, so that was Orestruck. Let us embrace it last. I've still got some soda here. I've still got a little juice. I got a little gas in the tank left. So let's see what's going on Reddit. Oh yeah, and here, just if you want to see it, there's my little cover page for. It's really not even a. I just wanted to print it. I wanted to print it since I got to print back and front anyway. So I'm calling the prologue the Rueful Widow. I don't know if it's great, but it doesn't really matter because this cover page will really only be relevant. Maybe I'll share it for patrons and they can grab it. Really, it's just going to get folded into the main adventure I'll be running tomorrow, which I don't know if I've covered. I know I've done development of stuff on it on the channel, but I don't know if I've actually read through it. I did not draw it. No, it's public domain. So Horgan wants to ask, is this an adventure? It is. Okay, so I have this adventure here. I'm going to relay this out, I think. So tomorrow at Arcane Con, I'm going to be running this adventure, Whispers from the Wastes. And I've ran this once before at ShireCon, and it ran a little bit fast. So I decided to add a prologue. So earlier today on the Behind the Screens channel, I spent about 3 hours, though some of it was kind of going through some stuff. So it's not 3 hours of complete development time. And I created this prologue, which is really just, it's a really small thing. It's really just a little scenario. that I'm going to add to the beginning of the main adventure. So instead of running right into the main mystery here, I'm going to send the party off on this small the small kind of adventure instead. And not really an adventure. It really is. It's like a scene of a crime. You're going to see there's a body, a burnt out farmhouse, an upset lady. Yeah, a body, an upset lady, a burnt down farmhouse. And then essentially it's really the party is going to be the local lord. The party works for the local lord. And that's kind of set up the whole adventure is the party works for the local lord who sends them off to do a thing. The main adventure sends them to a village from which some kids have gone missing. That's the setup for the main adventure is, oh my gosh, something's happened with these kids. You need to go handle it. The party's going to go handle it. This is a sort of the piece is going to be before they do that, they're going to get sent off to go look at this crime scene essentially of, oh my gosh, there was a fire at this farmstead. Something seems weird. Go check it out. So that's what the setup is. Kaga says that 2-column layout was too annoying, so they stuck with 1-column full page. I mean, yeah, 1-column full page is fine. It's a matter of kind of like how big. There is a certain point where you want to make sure, just typography wise, that there's kind of a. It's not there's like one width, but there's a certain. You may notice this if your columns are too wide and your text is too small, it's not comfortable. There's a certain width to text to font size that's kind of the nicest, that feels the best for reading. So you want to stick with that. But like Orstruck, I think she used 1 column to she just uses 1 column, though with some sidebars. So kind of like, so this is basically what Orstruck is doing. So for the most part, they have these, but for the most part, she has smaller columns, and oftentimes you end up with these kind of columns because they're just, for the size of the text, this is just a more comfortable read than this, generally speaking. And there's some magic numbers. I don't remember what they are, but there's kind of some magic numbers. So other than that, it's really all it's comfortable. It's not hard. Oh, and by the way, Croc, I don't know if you were on the stream earlier. I think you were, maybe not for all of it, but the Affinity suite has gone free. So you can grab Publisher, Designer. I think they have it all in one app now, maybe you get. So you can muck around with it, because in those apps, it's setting up multiple columns is actually easy. Easy peasy. And something like Word, I know when I've tried to muck around with, I could just use Word to do it, or like a Google Sheets kind of thing, I feel like that's a pain in the butt. So, but feel free to grab one because they have all the tools. In any case, yeah, she did not change the font size between the 1 column and 2 column, but I'm just saying that some of these layouts they set up so you end up with these columns that are nicer. Like she probably kept the same. I'm actually kind of curious why she didn't have the second thing here, but my bet would be, and this happens sometimes, that she might have wanted to get all this information on one spread, and to do that, if she chunked in like she does here, doesn't have enough room. So she went with a wider column there. Maybe not. I don't know. That would be my bet. So in any case, for this, I just have there's a couple of, really there's only two NPCs are there. There's this friar who leads you to the spot. She's the survivor, good wife Leofa, and then these 2 are dead. Reynold is dead. Subert is also dead, but is now what I'm calling a Sikh sorrow. And there's just kind of the mystery, just a little mystery, a little thing of basically what happened here, and then what does the party want to do with it? And that's kind of it. But I'm hoping it will get the party in mind of kind of the sort of themes of the adventure and just kind of thinking investigatively. And really, there's no stakes. I'm going to be interested to see how they, assuming I'm able to communicate everything well, what are they going to do? Because there's no right answer. If they want to let the people be, they could. Oh, it was an accident. Okay. If they want to dig into it more, there's not a whole bunch of places to dig in, because it's not meant to be long. It's not meant to be, there's not a whole lot to uncover, but they could try to dig into it and find out kind of the truth, which was that It's two brothers. She married the one brother, but was really in love with the other brother. Then the two conspired, killed the one brother, buried them here, and then because of what's going on in the world overall, the spirit of the brother basically kind of woke up, and there's this kind of idea of justice denied. And so that's why, that's kind of what's happening. And then sort of what do they, how much did they gather and what do they do with that information? No right answers. I'm hoping it'll be fun. We'll see. But I got that done. Croco says, don't think I will lay out much after this. Just go directly to PDF from a doc. You can absolutely do that too. It's really more about, if you're going to, you can publish stuff that's laid out. People do all kinds of stuff. But I think it's if you're interested, I think it is worth learning how to do, even in just a general way. There's also, I know there are templates some of them are free, some of them you can buy for things like Itch that can take a lot of the guesswork out of it also. And there's also stuff like Typest that has a lot of packages and things that people have done for role-playing stuff that you can kind of automate a bunch of stuff and kind of write in plain text, which I've mucked around with, which is pretty cool too. So there are options there. All right, so that's that. That's fine. Let's, I guess let's just go to, not espresso today. Oops. Let's see if there's anything new to be had. We're on best. No, let's go to new. Okay, Hyperborea. I don't really know enough about Hyperborea. A free adventure called Thither Ruins of the Dimlit Downlands. Okay. Balancing out attribute reliance in OSR lights. Okay, this could be cool. So this is interesting, maybe. I'll zoom in here. Okay. This was posted 39 minutes ago by Just Neller. Balancing out attribute reliance in OSR lights. I'm gearing up to start a campaign I have in mind, but I haven't 100% settled on a system. At this point, I keep bouncing between BX and Cairn or Mouse Ritter. In terms of a setting, it's worth mentioning that I have a human-only world in mind. I like Cairn Mouse Ritter for the classless aspect, but the attribute check thing doesn't work well for me. I like BX for the character's abilities being more level dependent than ability score dependent, but the classes don't entirely jive with the setting. Not to mention that 3 of them don't even exist unless I reskin them. I'm thinking or hoping that Cairn or Mouse Ritter has the easiest problem to solve. My main problem with basing resolution around ability scores is that a character's mechanical effectiveness is going to be primarily determined by a single set of rolls at the start of the game for the life of the character. It's not a player choice. At least with BX, your ability scores don't really impact the core functions of your primary class in most cases. They can affect fighters a little bit, but yeah, that's basically true. So I figured if I could come up with a way to balance out especially good or bad ability score rolls for Cairn or Mouse Ritter, that might solve it for me. Mouse Ritter already has a partial solution. Every level, you get to roll against your stats and raise stats on failed rolls. So characters with lower stats are more likely to get raises, but it's a partial balance at best. Hey, Brian Smith. Some kind of attribute point buy system could be another option, but I'm not sure how much I'm feeling that. The only other option I can think of is to steal the ability score and resolution system from Maze Rats and Frankenstein it into Mouse Ritter. Any chance anyone has any suggestions for this? Thanks. I feel like the BX one is actually the easiest one because just reskin them. So I'm guessing that they want a human-only world, so they don't want to have elves, dwarves, and halflings. Those would be 3 classes. But elves are just fighter magic users. Okay, you can get rid of the fact they're immunity to sleep and is it sleep? Immunity definitely to ghoul paralysis, right? And you can just get rid of their couple special things. You've just got a fighter magic user. There's your reskinning. They're now fighter magic users. Halflings, I think in one version of my game Escape, I basically rethemed that as your ranger type because it's outdoors, they get to hide really well, and so I was like, okay, and I think these reskins are not difficult if you really need to. And then dwarves, they're just fight. Now the other thing is what I did when I ran a BX based game, actually it's pre-COVID, a play by post game, I didn't even really reskin them. I just said, hey, if you want to play a dwarf, an elf, or a halfling, go right ahead, but you're just a human. You're still a human, but you just happen to have those abilities, right? And that's your class. So you are and I was like, And I was even like, if you want to be someone like you're an Alfred's son, because Alf, like Alfred, right? The Alf comes from elf. That's elf. So Alfred, the name means elf friend. So I was thinking like you could be like an Alfredson, which is basically a son of elf friend. So you get that's your elf class, and you could have one for dwarves, or whatever. And halflings, you're particularly sneaky outside. I mean, done. Reskinning those is not a problem at all. And if you wanted to get rid of them, you also could, because they're just the halfling is just a lighter. It's just a couple of special abilities on a fighter, essentially. Dwarves, definitely a couple of special abilities on a fighter. I mean, it's halflings is not really bolted onto a thief because they don't really get thieves scores, but whatever. And then elves are just fighter magic users, so you could get rid of them. You could do it, and I think people shouldn't be afraid of make another class, make a new class, make some classes up, rejigger something around, have some fun with it. So I would actually say BX is the easiest. I've only played Cairn in some one shots, so I don't know over a campaign if the attribute reliance, and also BX does have some attribute reliance. It really goes into how you're running your main resolution system, because if you're using roll under attributes a lot, then you still have those reliance on rolled scores. But I don't know, it's kind of part of the fun. I think you could probably, if you wanted to, either use an array, which I'm not really into using the arrays, only because I do think you have a lot of fun playing low levels with, look, this guy's got garbage stats, and yet if you have a guy with garbage stats who survives, and also you get some lucky rolls, like that's a fun story. There are stories to be had for those things, and I don't know, I think you have some fun. But yeah, you could go with an array. I don't think these are actually difficult problems to solve, probably regardless of which one you pick. I wouldn't worry so much about it, I guess. And really the other thing is obviously is how often you're asking people to roll. If you're having people roll every 5 feet and you're using a roll against attribute type system, then yes, it's going to have a huge influence on the game. But often cases, if you're only rolling in dire situations, or when it's really called for, when there's attention, a threat, whatever, then it's not as big a deal. And players are going to know, so they're going to try to lean into each other's strengths. Oh my gosh, you've got the high wisdom, so you should try to suss this out, because I'm not like that. I don't see it. Or you're agile, I'm not, so you do that thing when it's super important. Or I'm the strong one, so we need to bend bars, lift gates to get away from the black ooze. I will do that kind of thing. I sometimes I think that it's like you're inventing a problem and then like I got to solve for it. Like I don't think you need to. I think it's okay. Anything you choose, I think will be fine. That said, I don't have experience with Cairn to offer some some specific things for Cairn, but I think it's okay. I think it'll be fine. Well, that's a cool question. So I appreciate it. I'm curious. Let's see. Any good things here? So Hugh Monculus says, in Cairn and Mouse Ritter, the ability scores are used only for saves. There are no ability checks. What your character can do is more align on their background and equipment. For clever plans and careful approaches, either no roll is needed or the consequences of failure are reduced. And there's some useful reading. Also, in Cairn, the attribute scores can change from either scars or by diegetic advancement according to the fiction. All right. So there you go. Okay, so not a whole lot going on. So but at least they have played before. So maybe they just how they like it. So because they say when they were in Mouse Ritter, they didn't call for rolls often, maybe once per encounter, and only when nobody had a good idea to work around a situation. I suppose I'm making a bit of a mountain out of a molehill. Yes, I think you do. I think people get wrapped up in like this. Yeah, I mean, he says there, like, am I getting too wrapped on the principle, or are you not kind of on the principle? Well, yeah, but you're not playing the principle. You're playing this thing, and maybe just run it, see how it feels. But these are not difficult reskins. Review request for Midwest Fantasy War Game. Okay. In Filth and Frost. I don't know what that is. The Flame Pact Adventure Module. I like the art. Looks nice. Oops. Lava Monster. Lava monster. Cool. Do you incorporate Oracle questions in your games? How? I mean, I do all the time. I love to use oracles. And in fact, I brought my runes with me. I'm not expert enough. I don't quite have it down, but I might use them tomorrow for fun. But yeah, I like using. I'll use. What was I using? I'll use some kind of oracle all the time. It's just great. And I also will have basically the oracle for the players. Like, hey, which one do you want? Roll and see. Because often I don't know the answer, so I'll use an oracle to do it. So yeah, I think they're great. I think they're very useful. They can shake you up. I'm wondering, like, I don't know what could happen here. I want a random event of some sort. I just want some, like, I'm not sure what the consequence would be. Yeah, roll some dice, use an oracle. They're fun. Croco says they're fun. I agree. And yeah, any dice roll is an oracle. That's right. All right, we got a book. Does anyone still use Cairn First Edition? Is there? I don't know. What is the difference between Cairn First and Cairn Second? All right, so Cairn was their gateway into the OSR, and they think it's cool that Second Edition got fleshed out into a 2-book system, but they prefer the 20-page booklet with some fuzzy rules. Feels too Bastion Land-y for their taste. I don't know, but I mean, I believe that Yohai just said that they're making a bare bones 2E version. Yeah, or they already did. There you go. Advice on running a TSR module campaign. All right, I'm not sure I really have too much advice because honestly, I usually just run my own stuff. I will mine stuff for inspiration, but I don't tend to run TSR modules. In fact, I think the first time I ran one, at least since I was a kid, was when I incorporated Keep on the Borderlands into that BX based game from pre-COVID, play by post. Okay, this is posted by Accomplished Eagle 11 7 hours ago. My friends and I have been playing D&D for over 30 years, but never used any of the TSR modules. We want to dive in and see what we missed, and they have an idea for a campaign set in an archipelago of islands with a very pulpy Cthulhu mythos undertone, using old school essentials and the following TSR modules in roughly this sequence: Treasure Hunt, The Lost City, but in an island rather than the desert. I don't know if it'll make as much sense. I don't know if it works on an island, because it's kind of like you're stuck out in nowhere and you're forced to take refuge in the city. And I'm on an island that doesn't. I don't know how you're gonna figure that part out, because that's kind of part of the setup. Is like you can't get out. You can't really get out. You have to go in. I suppose you could have some kind of storm. It could be kind of your Isla del Muerte kind of deal or something where you can't get back, but it's not quite as clean. But that's up to you. Isle of Dread, Hidden Shrine of Tamoachan, Dwellers of the Forbidden City, Lost Caverns of Sojkanth, and then the Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun. You could rejig Temple of Elemental Evil for Tharizdun. I don't think. I think people don't really think that highly of. I've read Temple of Elemental Evil ages ago. I don't know if it's a really. I think it's kind of clunky. So, whereas yes, you could. I don't know if you'd want to. Maybe I should read it again sometime on the channel, but it's not one of the more well thought of TSR adventures. So can you? Yes. Should you? I don't know. Maybe not. Is it a reasonable idea? Sure. Lots of people do that. They want to craft an overarching plot and pepper in hints of later modules into the earlier ones. I mean, I think the thing is, I guess it really depends on the setup, because if you're running them in sequence, it means that you're saying that the party is going to go from each to each to each to each down the line. So you're not really putting them in a sandbox. Or if you are putting them in a sandbox, you're going to put some kind of heavy emphasis on getting one to the other. Presumably they're going to have some kind of goal, or maybe an employer. I'm not sure how you're going to do the chaining them together, so they don't hop around. But yeah, it's doable, I guess. Sure. It's reasonable. Croco says just got to have a treasure map in each adventure leading to the next one. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, though it's islands, right? So yes, you could. Like I said, it's one of the, not issues, could be, look, you can always just have, like, you're going down this archipelago and you literally island after island after island, and if you stop and adventure in each one, I don't know. I mean, it seems really cool. I would feel like I would want to, I don't know, maybe just my impulse is always to open things up. But certainly you need to figure, I mean, I guess you need to figure out, like, where's the home, are they going to some kind of home base? Are they literally just traveling? I don't know. Yeah, there's some things to be sorted out, but you could definitely do it. Nothing is impossible. Let's see. Has anyone here ran or played Glaive V1? Nope. Okay, here we go. This was posted by Spiky Tortoise Comics 8 hours ago. Help! I'm a brand new referee, and I think I might have started off on the wrong foot. Uh-oh, let's see what happened. For my first outing, I went all in, drew a full map of homebrew continent, placed towns and villages with short notes on each, dotted in hidden dungeon sites, and wrote out a whole scheme for the campaign's big villain. The trouble began with the opening. I started the campaign with all the player characters meeting in a jail cell. I let the players decide why they were there, and the prison break itself went fine. But once they escaped, there was no real reason for them to keep traveling together. I had assumed that a shared escape would naturally make them a party of adventurers, but that didn't happen. Their goals were all different, and everyone is new to the game, with one player tending to go against the grain. I mean, this is the classic issue. And I think some people feel like, I'm going to do the hot start, the in media res, and yeah, we're going to bond on this thing, and it doesn't end up happening. At least not with a short kind of thing. It can happen with a longer one. I think this is where, if you had to do it, if you could get a do-over, you would say, not only why are you in the jail cell, but how do you know the other people, right? And give them that kind of connection. The other part is, of course, you should just talk to your players and say, listen, we're playing a game. Can you guys just, because I think we've all been in that situation. Hey, I'm joining a new gaming group. They're already in session. My player goes in the tavern, and you can have the existing party could be a jerk and be like, I don't know that guy. I'm not going to tell him anything. I'm going to be quiet. Or they could be like, hey, pal, you can do a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to, oh, we'll let you in on it. But you just kind of go with it. Like, oh, we found this guy laying in the dungeon, and now he's traveling with us. So, your character, yes, you could do something differently, but also, hey, players, be cool. It's a setup for an adventure. Don't fight the fact that you're there as a group. Come on, just play the game. Can we please? They tried to fix it by having an NPC double cross them and steal their gold, hoping that would give them a shared problem to solve. Instead, the contrarian player soured on it, turning hostile to NPCs and party members alike, and eventually got his character killed. All right, well, that problem seems to have solved itself. So there's that. On top of that, my hints toward the campaign's villain were too plain, so the players already pieced together the twist. The contrarian is now rolling up a new character and leaning hard toward a murder hobo type, despite my talks about tone and cooperation. Well, that's a player issue. Okay, you're gonna have to talk to that player. That's not an issue. You can't really solve that. If you're saying, hey man, we really want to do a thing, we're getting together, like, nope, I'm doing a murder hobo, then you can say, like, well, maybe you shouldn't. Like at some point, if someone says, like, hey, we're playing this co-op game, we all want to work together, and someone's like, I'm making a murder hobo, and you say, yeah, but we're trying to make a game, I'm doing a murder hobo. It's like, okay, well, you're not doing a murder hobo, because this character is not going to enter the game if you can't, like, you're not under some obligation to let whatever character they come up with play the game. You're like, look, if this guy is a murder hobo, when I told you not to make a murder hobo, then it's not gonna, it's not gonna happen. And this is not even like a rocks fall, everybody dies. It's just not gonna happen. So don't do it. So it's, talk to your player. And to finish out, at this point, I'm thinking of scrapping the whole thing and running a pre-written OSC adventure instead, starting with B1 and Search the Unknown. My homebrew world feels like too much too soon. I'd like to start fresh with something simple, such as you all grew up in the same village and have long dreamed of adventure. So there's a built-in reason for them to stick together past the first delve. For those of you who have run old school games longer than I have, what would you do in my place? Try to salvage what's left, cut my losses and begin anew with a tighter premise. I mean, honestly, if it's only been one session, you could just say, listen, can we start over? Like, the prison break was fine, but it's not working with the character stuff. So you don't have to change the whole world. Just say, okay, we're going to start over. I just think you just need to have a talk with your players. And it seems like maybe they have, and there's just the one contrarian player who's insisting on being contrarian. That's just going to be a problem, and it'll probably be a problem no matter what. It just seems like and who knows what if this is accurate or whether there's a little bit of, it's you're reading one person's perspective. But assuming that this is an accurate picture, that problem player is going to be a problem player no matter what. So regardless of what you do, chances are this problem player is still going to be a problem. You're going to have to deal with it. So deal with that. Everything else, it feels like you could really just have a player conversation saying, listen, I really meant you guys to be connected. I don't want to be fighting with different things. So either we can start over with you guys all being from the same village and we'll just assume the prison break didn't happen, or you guys can make some kind of pact to, to be together kind of thing. Right. I think that's how I would do it. You don't need to describe everything. In fact, you can keep your whole world and just plunk B1 into it in Search the Unknown. Just drop it into your world somewhere. Pick one of these dungeons that you dashed lined in there and say, oh, now you're there. Easy peasy. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. But yeah, it seems like a good bit of this is a problem with a particular player, which you can only work around it so long, and generally not very well. It's going to keep coming up again and again and again until you get that sorted. But good luck, Spiky Tortoise Comics. Okay, there's a text adventure. That's cool. Selfie in the Lost City. That's cute. If you know, you know. Family. Oh, that's an ad. Okay, 3 to 6 down the line. Dolmenwood. Best VTT. I'm kind of curious. I don't have an answer for this, but I'm curious to see if people have. So, best VTT for OSR Purism. I've been running a game in the classic style where we have. This was by Les Cauliflower 956. Running a game in the classic style where you have a mapper, but the drawing tools in Roll20 leave a lot to be desired. Is there one you guys prefer that enables quicker and easier drawing? Okay, so I was thinking OSR Purism, like kind of theater of the mind style, but really it's about player mapping tools. Someone says Owlbear. Someone mentions that there's a dungeon draw module for Foundry. Let's see. Someone mentioned Miro. Okay, so there's interesting. Something mentioned something called Schmeppy, which I think I've seen before. All right, so there's some options there for you. I was hoping there'd be one like, hey, if you just want to roll Theater of the Mind, but have the rules and die rolling stuff online, what to use? That's a question I'm interested in. Though, I mean, not that I don't want to have images at all, but I'm not really interested in the mapping parts. But I guess if you're going to have player mappers do their thing, having some kind of tool would be good for them. Any rules or best practices for running something between regular and mass combat? I don't really know. I think you just pick a scale and go with it. You can use something like War Machine might be useful there. Let's see. Anything else? Martial versus Magic from a philosophical perspective. Okay. Games that use BX stat block but are not clones. I don't know. Don't really care. Roll a second combat initiative out of after encounter initiative. I don't really care. You can see I'm not finding a whole lot here that's thrilling me. Okay, a mouse ritter setting. Okay, there's the Karen Bare Bones edition. Delving Deeper V5. Oh, there's V5. I was a big fan. I've been a big fan of Delving Deeper for ages. Oh, it's another. Woat. Oh, I didn't know it was now on Buy Me a Coffee. Oh, well, I'll have to look at this later, but I was hoping for something more because they had a really nice, before Cairn, there was Delving Deeper had their online rules, but I guess this is more development stuff, so it's kind of written in posts. But Delving Deeper is good. I recommend it. Let's see. 1-page dungeon. Does the OSR have a grimdark problem? I don't know. I guess it probably depends on what you consider OSR. I think they have that bookmark, the Delving Deeper. Yeah, it's good. It's definitely worth bookmarking. Oh, I'm not seeing it. Well, we're running on the 2-hour mark. So presuming I'm going to keep scrolling through here for at least the next 5 minutes. And if not, then I'll just call it a night. Or if there's something else, we'll write a stream. Okay. Filled dungeon rooms. Big tractor. 2 tractors. Choo-choo. Blue lemons. And what was that? Banana? Nice. What is this? Okay, here's one. So, posted by, God, we're already now 3 days ago, by Barunen. Dungeon exploration turns when time is of the essence for PCs. This is a how-to. So I guess it's a question. Hi, all. I sort of understand dungeon turns, why they are 10 minutes, and why some systems forego giving them any kind of timestamp whatsoever. I have made the mistake of making players conscious of what turn they are on. From my reading of the subreddit, this is against conventional wisdom. The DM tracks the time, the players just play and check in on when they want to know how much time has passed. This makes a lot of sense because I've run into scenarios where the players asks it takes 10 minutes to search a 10 by 10 room with a bit of incredulity. Though if you think about it, depending on what's in that room, it can take at least 10 minutes. But yes, However, my question is about when players need or want to keep track of time for a number of reasons. Rescuing an NPC, big bad evil guy, building in the MacGuffin, a powerful buff duration, limited torches, etc. How then do you handle the abstraction when there is more of an in-game or fiction reality of time being super important for the players and a strong consideration? Because to be honest, I find there are many, many modules where time is super important, where something triggers on day 2 or night 5, unless the PCs have done something to mitigate or resulting in the PCs needing to now go do X, Y, Z. So how then are dungeon turns communicated? What's reasonable? Part of me now really appreciates some systems foregoing a time allotment like Karen, but also then just adds to the DM of thinking about time when time is important. Part of me also then appreciates Shadow Dark's literalism, but can still be clunky when there are time skips. I've been doing a lot of reading here, blogs, elsewhere, and haven't really found anything conclusive because no DM has mentioned how their players or modules rely on time being crucial to the fiction beyond wandering monster checks. Well, I think this is why having the 10 minutes is actually helpful, because then you can calculate what an hour is to whatever. So if they have 3 hours, then they know how many turns they have. And I think that's useful. And I think you just got to get, I think if the big thing is just, well, why does it take 10 minutes to do this small thing? It's like, you're just rounding, because sometimes it takes more than 10 minutes to do a thing, but we still round it to 10 minutes. Some things take less than 10 minutes. We still round it up. The point is ultimately for most mechanics, it doesn't matter. But in this case, when you're doing days, like we just read, Orestruck, and Orestruck has things like day 1, day 2, day 3. So yes, at a certain point, the time becomes meaningful. Though usually within a dungeon, it's like it just takes you a couple hours, whatever. You're done with that dungeon delve. But yeah, I mean that's why that's why you want to have at least be able to apply some kind of time length to a turn, so that if you do need to have some idea of how much time's passed, you have that. Players can get over that thing. It's not that big of a deal. And I think players will understand and get over the fact of like the amount of time things take. Croco says, don't think I've seen much time stuff in modules except for timeline stuff, especially in regards to turns. Yeah, usually things, it's days, right? And then you can just estimate. I mean, if you want to do like a Karen, I don't know, if you're doing something you don't want to do that, then you say, oh, they've been in the dungeon. You could maybe for every level of the dungeon they've been on, maybe roll a d6 for how much time it took. So, oh, you guys were in the dungeon. Oh, you're in the dungeon 5 hours. Like you can roll some dice. Not that big of a deal. But this is why having the 10-minute things is nice, because you literally, if you are doing a good job marking your turns, you literally can say how long they've been somewhere. And then, they come out. We went in at noon. What time is it now? Oh, it's about 5 hours have passed. Great, go. But I haven't found, the other things, I haven't found players. I don't think I've found players that are really just stuck on the minutia of time so much, where it's down it's down to that 10 minutes. I haven't really found it. So I think it's it's almost an edge case to me that maybe is an edge case that's not a big deal to solve for, really. So just do that. Let's see. Is there one last thing? I guess not. I mean, some of this stuff, but I don't want to get into something super long. All right, word about it too. We're just crossing the 2-hour mark. I'm gonna call it a night. So I gotta get up early in the morning. I gotta go to Arcane Con. I gotta run an adventure. Wish me luck. I will. I'm gonna be up here at Studio B at least until Monday, maybe Tuesday. We'll see how that goes. So we'll reconvene. Probably I'll do something on Sunday. So I'll be at the con all day, and I can't imagine post-con I will be wanting to. Who knows what time I'll get back here, and yeah, I can't imagine wanting to fire up for a stream. But I'll probably post some pictures, and if I have some quick notes, maybe I'll post a short, or I'll just write something. Krogus has lots of cons lately. Yeah, I mean, I had ShireCon. Unfortunately, I had to miss Claricon. I got Arcane Con, and then PAX, and then that's kind of done. So the fall is sort of my busy con time, just with the cons that I am able to go to with those 4 cons. And then after that, it's pretty much not until whenever PAX East is. If I go to PAX East this year, and then I'll have EcclesiaCon. Well, sorry, no, I'll be at Page, which is another one in Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. I think is what Page stands for. Is in January. I'll be at Page, and then it's a pretty long break, and I don't really have much. It's really the fall. My con season is basically the fall into the winter. Fall, winter. I have some cons. It's like once a month. It's like literally which is fun. It's like from September to January. It's pretty much once a month. Though this month, I don't know why they did PAX. PAX is usually in December, but they moved PAX to November right before Thanksgiving. So this was like the tightest squeeze now with Arcane Con, and then literally a week or two, and then like maybe not next week, but the week after, I'm off to PAX. Makes it a little bit of a pain, and this is a little tight. But yeah, that's it. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to Amanda P for sharing Orestruck. Thanks for hanging out with me, reading through some stuff on the OSR subreddit. Like I said, once I will try to schedule something on Sunday to recap stuff, and maybe I'll post some pictures and things from Arcane Con tomorrow. I haven't checked it. I'm hoping people had an amazing time at Arcane Con today. I didn't go today just because I'm not running, and I felt like let me save some of my energy and work on my materials a bit. So I got that. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Game on, everybody, and I will talk to you later. Bye now.